process from way back when I first started, is when I started drawing out the moving averages. I would notice, like, for instance, here, well, somebody's um, on that 3 minute, oh, here, this is the 24 minute. Here's this 50-day moving average, right? So that's an average of the 50 candles prior on 24 minutes time. Well, I started taking like this spot and measuring from here to here, and I would draw out by hand by making dots. I would literally draw in little dots on my chart, and then I would connect those dots, trying to future plan where that moving average is going to be in the future later. And as I kept doing that, I would do it on a 4 hour and then on a 5 minutes and so on. I would see that, and mathematically it makes sense, but that back then I really didn't know what I was doing, but I was noticing the relationship that I would have to change my color because I would have this orange and I would have the five EMA be yellow, and I would have the 50 EMA blue. And I would notice that I would have to change the color because the one became the next, right? The 5 EMA turned into the 50 on a different time frame. And so all of those lines started to make me think about, well, what's happening? What's really happening? Well, what's really happening is that the the price action from before, from the history of these candles from this point to this point is being contained here. And and so then when I measure out this angle, right, I'm determining where um, where that history might meet up again with the corresponding smaller time frame. Like on the 3 minute chart, the 5 AMA might hit that 50. And so then it's like a squeeze, right? But from a different, so that the price action that's within inside here, even though um, it may occur, that's why we get a I'm losing my train of thought, but that's why we might get a push down to that lower because this one has more history than the upper. If that makes a little bit of sense. So when they all align again, in space here, it makes an impact, sometimes a greater impact, sometimes a lesser. But that's one thing that goes into the thought process is the alignment of the time frames. And there are certain points along the way that all of the previous candles begin to align up on a bigger one
So
that will make a difference in the chart.
would you say that this recent push up, this explosive move upward, would be the result of multiple time frames aligning themselves?
Exactly. That's exactly, and that's why the 3 day was the one in the way I chart. That 3 day was the important one because the what was coming up from the bottom was meeting in the middle, and the decision was whether or not we're going to go from this uh, lower middle to the middle to then the upper middle. So if you look at even a minute time frame and you watch the pattern, right? All of that is the same pattern repeats on every other time frame. It does the same thing, only the minute time frame just does it more often. Because the minute time frame has its own 50 MA, its own 200, as you see here. This is the 3 minute. But each one has all of these factors. That's why some people can just trade on the minute time frame and they can make a lot of money. It doesn't matter because I can trade this movement. I don't have to trade just a 4 hour candle. I can trade a minute, and I can extend that trade, for a half an hour, 2 hours, or I could just be done with my trade in 30 seconds. For instance, it was either yesterday morning or the morning before, this coin called Ace. I have no clue about Ace, but I was just watching the chart. I saw the daily candle pattern, and so I in 30 seconds I made on 50x. I don't know if I put in $2, $8. Anyway, I made $100 in like 30 seconds to a minute. I mean,
That's awesome.
what is wrong with that, right? Why should I spend all day tracking something else when I can make $100 in 30 seconds? Like Dbloc said the other day or earlier today, think about what that translates to in an hourly wage. Well, that little bit of movement was worth my time. So, I kind of poo-poo when people say, well, you shouldn't be looking at, yeah, who cares? If I can get the movement from a 3-minute candle or a 24-minute candle, what difference does it make, right? As long as you're trading it. Anyway,
Have you ever
that,
heard of the Mandelbrot set?
mm-mm,
The Mandelbrot set is it's a graph of a short equation that you can zoom in along. Well, the graph is drawn by whether or not a system works or doesn't work, and the point at which the system breaks or becomes unstable. It's not shaded or is just black, and when the system is stable, it becomes a certain color. And so this graph of the Mandelbrot equation gives you a fractal image that you can zoom into infinitely. And it kind of
wow.
reminds me of what you're talking about now, where the time frames align. That you can look at a small time frame, and it'll reflect what the large pattern will look like. And that's what you're saying now reminds me exactly of the Mandelbrot
Yes,
set.
and you have engineering. You've been an engineer, is that correct?
No, no, I studied computer science in college, but I never finished my degree.
Well, there's another individual that I believe is an engineer, asked me if I was an engineer because he said something about, you think along the same lines as an engineer does. And it's kind of funny that there are all kinds of things like what you were just saying, alignment, and then it's like it blinks, it gives you what you just said, it gives you some kind of an alert when it's aligned.
No, it's a I can't explain the equation perfectly because I don't. It's a little difficult to explain, but there's a beautiful video on YouTube explaining the Mandelbrot equation,
Okay.
and it just think of a graph that shows you when it works and when it doesn't work. Like when you solve a polynomial or a binomial, and
Okay.
you have your set of answers that work and that don't work, right? You either have your correct answers or your incorrect answers. And when you graph it, you just get this beautiful image that resembles the shorelines of the earth. You can almost attribute the way that the continents are formed to this type of fractal.
That's so cool.
I don't know. You should just look into it. It's a beautiful thing. That's
You are
the
so
same kind
smart.
of thing.
You have,
It's no, no, I'm not. Honestly, when I hear you talk, I'm like baffled by how amazing your brain is. I'm nowhere compared to you guys.
well, we all start somewhere, right? And we build upon our knowledge. At least, I feel like I learn something new every day. I mean, I never knew about this um, fractal you're talking about. Um, if you could put that in the chat so I
Yeah,
know how to spell it.
I'll actually send you the video on it so you
Okay,
could
that'd
watch
be
it because
great.
they explain it much better. And when I first learned about this thing, I was mind blown. It was such a trip for me. There's a program you can download on your computer which will render the Mandelbrot equation, and you can just zoom in and explore it yourself, and you can zoom into this thing infinitely.
Well, I
And
might learn something that can be applied here.
yeah, it's really really beautiful. I love looking at it.
Thank you.
You've seen the Juliet set?
A what?
The
The
Juliet set.
Julia set, yeah, it's like
It's like
another,
the other
it's a
side of the,
similar type of graph.
it's actually linked to the Mandelbrot. Can't remember how though, it's been a long time. But in some way it's linked. Like the two go together. Can go
Well,
together
let's look.
like rock salt or something.
What do you know about that? It's called Juliet.
I think it's called Juliet.
Julia set.
Julia.
It works
It's
the same way as the Mandelbrot set. It's just that the graph is slightly different.
But it's
Right.
directly connected to it in some way. It's been years since I've studied that, but so my
I'm sending you the video now. I'm gonna post it in the. Where do you want me to post it?
Anywhere you want to. I thought, you know, you can send it to me, or if somebody else wants to watch it, then put it in the bubble
Yeah,
chat.
I'll drop it in the off topic.
And AI on, if you could drop yours too, that'd be great. Unless it's too,
uh,
if
I
you have
just
to
have
look
to
for it,
remember.
don't spend your time now. Which
Yeah,
is,
I can find it real quick. It'll be fine.
It's in
I have a lot of
the bubble
videos to
chat.
watch. I have those two, and then I have some Chris sent me, and
I dropped it in the bubble,
thank you.
of course.
Okay, so I hand drew this arc. That's why it's not perfect line, right? But I could take the tool and draw it. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to show like we did the other night about how you can't manipulate them the way you want to because it's mathematical, right? Or it's math, right? So here's this arc that kind of matches what I did. Notice how this makes like an ellipse, or see this shape. So when I do this, I can't, it doesn't do what I want. It does only what is possible mathematically, right? So when I go like this, doesn't it look like a little shelf?
It's like an eyeball.
And fold it up, and now it looks like a taco, right? Price is contained inside that. And then if I push up like this, right, you can see the point, that little circle, the point that my mouse is moving, right, at the top of that arc. If I pull it like this, that gives me the possibility on a ascending or on a vertical line, right? So which one does that hit the top? Up here, see, these are the time bars, right? 3 minute, 3 minutes. So this time is already passed right here, 11 p.m., 11:03. All that's already passed us, but not on a forward look time frame. So if I go to the 24-minute, you see how, look at how weird that is, huh? But what does it hit? It hits this angle behind us. So what looked like it was possible on that other time frame doesn't look like it's possible here until you bump up over that angle there. So now let's go back to the 3 minute. You see so price will have to bump through there, and through there, through these two poles, right? So let's put the candle there. I can't see these candles. Shoot. I have to magnify it, so we'll magnify it and then I'll bring it back. All right, so now we're in that field of the arc. And notice as I move this, how that arc flips around, right? The point is that there is a distance that can be achieved mathematically between a certain gate or time. And that candle, it's so in other words, it's helpful for you to be able to see where a short could be taken from, and where a candle could possibly bump up to, based on the angulars, right? Because it gives you a mathematical kind of barrier from the ballistics, from from a boom shakalaka, boom over. That this is why that idea that I got from ballistics comes into play in a chart, because the velocity of the move makes a difference about how far the distance can travel over that arc. Does that make sense? So in other words, like when a a whale jumps, swim, jumps
Yeah,
up.
now you're using physics on top of
Exactly.
multi-dimensional
That's why I
math.
said there's all different kinds of math in the way I chart. And it's all based on what I've what observed, and what I've noticed in nature, and other things that applies to a chart. And so that there's physics, there's calculus, there's there's uh,
Geometry.
geometry, and there's what's the one that starts with an A? Algebra. All of that is involved in a calculus. I already said that, in a chart. And so from this point to this point, can it be physically, or traveled? And this is another way that you can help to find tops and bottoms over a period of time, because those arcs have to be crossed because candles go vertical through and occupy a certain amount of space. So now let's look at that arc on a bigger time frame. Oh, now it looks all messed up, right? Well, let's see. Can we even locate it? I'm gonna have to do that slower so we can see it.
So I was watching that a little bit of that, listening to the Juliet set and how it relates to the Mandelbrot set. And I'd recommend watching it because it's a different perspective of like natural design. I don't, fractals. And maybe something will click.
Yeah, the way BJ explains her charting, that's what I imagine in my head is one of these fractal zooms.
Okay, so so that's why you brought it up. That makes sense. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
The way she was explaining how time frames synchronize from smaller to larger or larger to smaller. If you look at that set, that's essentially what you're doing is you're looking at X and Y and how they relate to each other on the graph.
Right. I wonder if there's anything to do with also, like, how the Juliet sets are, the Mandelbrot set is made up of Juliet sets. So one's fixed and one is not fixed. The Mandelbrot set is more infinite, where Julia, I guess it's called Juliet set. The Julia set has a constant that keeps it structured and not infinite. But the Mandelbrot is made up of them. So there could be something, an anchor, or that would bring, I don't know. I just saw something that
Yeah,
It's
and
definitely
you
fascinating. I
are
can't
very
explain.
brilliant. And I mean, you've brought up many things before that have helped me, like the you just posted a GIF in the bubble chat in the lounge. Of the parabolas, or which one was it?
oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh my gosh, that made such a difference. I used that
I
in
just
my,
found it, but I was like, wow. So I posted it
yes,
immediately.
I thought, how on earth is that so awesome because,
I
you
think
know,
it
it's
was,
like,
wasn't it like a two-dimensional version of a three-dimensional concept?
yes, and it had to do with the arc spinning around a cone. And anyway, it helped me so much because I was like, well, that's what this does this.
I did the same thing Robo did. How you mentioned the Mandelbrot, because how what you say reminds him. It was the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. The things you had very recently been talking about. When I saw that, it reminded me of what you've been saying, so I posted it.
Do you
Thank
have
goodness you did.
do you have this GIF? I want to see it.
I don't know.
I
Probably
have it
long lost.
somewhere. I'll find it, and it's in the lounge in I mean, it's still there, but I don't know how far back it is. That's why I have to.
So far back, and there was a lot of music.
Yes. Oh, that drove me crazy. It took forever to try to get that off, and then I didn't have time. I don't
Oh,
know how that.
oh, did you actually delete all the music? Because
I
I had
deleted
to
a
stop.
lot of it.
It got me out of the habit of posting because I used to always post in the bubble chat, but I know that it would be gone, like nobody
Yeah.
would see it.
I didn't know how to fix. Patch tried to help me figure out how to remove it or not give it that rights, but I never really had time to go do it proper way. But there's supposed to be some kind of way in Discord that you can not give it that permission. But I'm just not savvy enough with that yet. But that was crazy. And then it started doing it on the other channels.
What? You started,
The music was posted,
oh,
the same thing on the other channels. So it was like infecting the whole
oh,
Discord.
jeez. Like, it was fun for a
Your
while.
music virus.
Yeah.
It was just, yeah, it was too cluttery.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so and this is the other reason why I reminded myself about talking about alignment, because you see how this is the 69-minute ascending overhead resistance, which means that on that in today's price action, I mark this as the overhead angular, and you can see this line as it's extended up here. We got over that line. I'm on that 60-minute time frame. So the candle did come to it and then got halfway through it, and then we weren't able to extend up. So now that angular resistance is still angular resistance on this time frame. So now this candle, I think this is our current candle. Let me see. Oops, too far. Okay, so it's still not fully broken.
Yeah, so it's still acting as resistance, is what you're saying.
Correct. Even though this candle popped up over it, and so did this one. So on the ascension, that I don't know why my chart won't move right. There we go. And then where does that come out? Comes out up here where it meets this dome, right? So you see this gap between here and here. So let's see where that is forward in time, where this angle meets that overhead angle right here. This is, so Patch had asked me a question about when do I put a date, or why do I choose it? This is a prime location for me to drop a vertical line, because see, it's the intersection here of an ascending resistant line where it meets a previous overhead, and it is also pushed forward by this arc. So this area is going to be traded, right? This is the area that's in the future. And that spot right there is going to be an important spot on for this time frame. Because if these candles can pass on this side, the left side of this resistance, right? The likelihood that we're going to go from here to here becomes greater. And then it's then going to become an angular support after we go through this channel. So if the early time frames, right, can push up over that arc, push up this one, then this becomes that flag triangle that has a termination point right here on the 69-minute. So let's do that. We put this vertical line. I know it seems like I'm cluttering it up. What the heck? Who cares? I can move it. I can hide it, whatever. I can delete it. But for teaching, let's do it. So we go like this. Now, look at this structure that's right there. Boom, boom. And this has a spot down here that's very important because look, there's that rise, that double bottom, right? Boom, up, 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 up. So on the return, well, this line comes here, but what if price action is above this level? That means that this is becoming greater support, right? Because if we find an angular support up there, then price is not likely to come back down because this is already past us over there. It might in the future if the arc swings back down like through here, if I have a greater arc and we come back and price never resolves above 75.7, right? And so the hour, if the hourly 69 minutes can't get above this angular, the moving averages don't flow upward, right, and follow price, which is what we talk about, that it has to follow price up, and then you flow back. So that vertical makes perfect sense to create. The main thing is to label it so that we understand why in the future, why this intersection is extremely important for a candle. So again, alignment. So now let's look at like a 6-hour or whatever, and then you can begin to see when that synchronization or alignment occurs. And so for trading, the when you know that the future that's going to be aligned, and you can see that underswing like from right here, then if that big candle is going to pass a moving average and cut through resistance, then you know you've got a nice big trade that you could take. And likewise, you come up to a topping point, you can take that trade back down and either drop it off here or follow it all the way through back down below 71.5. So I have to. So that's one reason why I take certain points or I drop certain verticals and the horizontals, and then the angulars come in after that. So this was
Amazing.
69-minute. So, and then you think of Mario, in a video game. Here's the what do you call it? The field, the playing, the map, and there's a prize. He has to jump up here and get that prize, otherwise he falls off from this bar to this one. You know how Mario does, and then you have to start over again because it's like Bitcoin's the same way. Got to go up and get that prize there, collect it, and then move forward, right? You get to go to the next level. If not, you're going to go boom, boom, boom. And then you hear that music, and you're down into the alligators, right? The alligators are down here.
That's incredible, BJ. Can't believe it.
It's fun. And then for me, I don't know, it's more interesting to watch the price action when it looks like a creature, a living thing. I mean, it's like it's moving, it's alive. It's not just these sticks on a screen. It's got movement, it's got, I don't know, personality, everything all rolled up into one little line. All right, so here is our 50 on the 5 minute, 50 and the two. And look at, see how that 200 is inching up through. I'm going up this little scaffolding here.
It's funny
Well,
you
where's
say that because the main character in that movie I've been telling you about, he describes the market as a living, breathing organism.
that's so cool. Well, I mean, look at it. It looks like it's alive. It's an organism. So we're getting out to this shelf, and then we're trying to jump up to this one, catch that coin right there, and then push up over that angular. So this is the 5 minute, but what needs this one is the 69 minute, and then this one, remember, is the 24 minute, where it meets the 864. So the 864, the 24 minute, and the 69 minute are all meeting at this point. And isn't it something that this arc happens to cross right there at that particular place, right? So this this is why knowing these points on these crossbars makes a whole lot of difference, because this is where things are getting aligned again. Hey Joe, I saw your message and I responded. I can't manipulate that situation, or I can't change that, but I can talk to you in the lounge anytime.
What's going on, yo? My bad. I'm trying to put a little something together so I can leave you guys with what I'm looking at while I'm gone. I just started a new chart from scratch with levels to watch for the next week and timelines. Like,
I thought you were gone already.
nah, I don't leave till tomorrow.
Heck yeah, heck yeah.
Missed the test. Is it still available?
Yeah. I
I was
should put
really
it in
busy.
the bulletin. I should drop it in what you call it. Put that. I'm gonna leave a screenshot of this chart in the Discord as well. I'm here, yo. I'm just cooking something up real quick.
Let him cook.
Give me 1 second. Sean. What's good, y'all? What are y'all up to?
I'm about to go give me a midnight snack.
Nice.
Enjoy your vacation, bro. You deserve it. Wherever you end up. Have some drinks on me. Clinking beer mugs emoji.
W Mike. Appreciate you, bro. W Mod. Stuff that we need to focus on, some important dates. Oh, shit, did I just lose connection? Mic check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're still good.
All right. Let me restart this. Hold on, because yeah, everything went to zero. My bitrate went to zero, so I had to catch it in midair, basically. All right. Made this chart for y'all, but I really made it for me so that I have something really simple to look at. Small amount. Let's put this in the bottom. This on the bottom here. Now I'm gonna make sure the first drink's gonna be on mic for sure. There we go.
Don't get too drunk.
Nah. Never that.
Money for baguettes. Bring Zeusy back and enjoy your Bacchad block lol.
Yeah, 5 is the important one here. I'm tripping. Mm, 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 mm. How much of this 2K is left to probably absorb most of this? One little wall left. 1.2. So, Nick the Snitch, the Fed Whisperer, is being rumored to have been on and I don't know this because I didn't see the spaces, but was being rumored to be in the spaces saying that this doubling would probably be just the first time they doubled QE to bonds, implying that they could double it again after this. So we really need to talk about liquidity and about what are the odds of this liquidity sustaining long enough to break our macro structure. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure that I pull. Anybody know when that Bank of Japan interest rate decision is? I don't know, 4th. Hold on. I think I'll be back by then. I'm just trying to cover everything that's going to be happening while I'm gone, basically.
September 7th.
What those guys said.
Okay, I'll be back by then. I'll be back.
I mean, I'll take a little pullback, short term.
So this is, oh God, I really don't want to quote you guys. Hold on. This is not the story I was reading. Where is it? I found it, but it's on banter, and I'm not about. I mean, news is news, but still. So they're freaking out because remember the whole thing where they where he did the whole over the shoulder thing to try to manipulate the market to try to get people to play the yen, to sort of magnify the dollars, right? Well, we just had Warsh, which in front of all of our faces on his first meeting said that they would not be giving the market any forward guidance, right? He said that he didn't want to affect the market, that the market was going to have to run off of its own, whatever, and that the Fed would no longer be giving forward guidance. So why did they tell us 2 weeks in advance that they're about to double QE? And so my thesis is they told us early because they can't afford to. You know how market maker can't pay for the whole trip by himself? The government can't pay for the whole bond sort of collapse insurance by itself. It needs everybody else to jump in on the idea, right? So they announce it early before they have to spend any money, and then they get to watch the market for 2 weeks and see what the reaction is. Well, apparently they didn't like the reaction because today, I guess I'll just use their shit. I'm using a crypto banter link just off of pure wanting to get it out already instead of having to look for find the thing that I did, but you can find the news story on your own. The important part is the headline. All right, so on the 18th, we had the news that they're going to double QE, right? And then today, which in my opinion has a lot to do with the continuation, we had the news that Bassett said that the Treasury will routinely run buybacks, right? Not just a one go from September till November. November 4th is the finish line for this. Right? The money actually physically starts to flow. Give me a minute. I'll replace it with an actual article. I'm just being lazy. And then November 4th. So the period of extended QE is between November 4th and September 9th. Okay, so basically 2 months. Now, what the Fed is now giving forward guidance to is that they're ready to do more than just that. Oh, is there another one? Gloomy. W Gloomy with the super chat. I didn't see that. You guys are going to have your hands full, man. Listen, if it was any other team of mods, I would be worried about going on vacation. The time as volatile as this.
And Scoob too. Don't forget Scoob.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now. W School, man. Appreciate y'all. So we have to watch the liquidity. Right? We know that the influx is coming. We know that people now have a reason to speculate, continue to speculate into the influx. I mean, this is where they announced right, breakout candle, where they announced the doubling, and this breakout that we had today, right here, where we stalled out and then put in the new. Right on that dip is when the article stomach, when Nick started spreading his rumors. So we have to watch the liquidity. We've got certain checkpoints. If you look at, hold on. So timing wise, right? This is when our weekly candle closes. Bulls to break macro structure for the first time during this bear market, right? To where nobody, not even the most macro of macro guys can deny that you broke structure. You have a job to do. You need to close above. Actually, you need to close above 5 too. These are all from the checklist, right? These are all targets on the checklist. I just made it one simple chart with lines so that it's easy to take a screenshot and then you can just watch it. So we need to close above 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 by the time we get to this line. That breaks your macro structure. And honestly, hold on, I'll be lenient. I'll be a little bit more lenient because the liquidity is real. We don't need to close above 1. We need to close above 2, 3, 4, and 5 by the weekly candle close. Right? Which means that you need 2 more days to push. Let's go to the 4-hour chart. No, don't reload. The bullishness, in my opinion, is invalidated. Where's the VAL? There it is. So you need to close above 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? But bears, what you need to do, take the sting out of this move up, and in my opinion, really take the wind out of the sails, is close underneath a daily value area high. So we're going to drop another red line right next to it. And then I'm going to draw out the battlefield. I expect a cut after midterms, but we can't. After midterms is already after my bottom terminal date, so there has to be a plan before that. And then we'll adjust, right? Maybe midterms becomes a TP a TP compounding moment. I'll go 12-hour. So for the bulls, let me make this easier to see and understand. Oh, make it green. Right? That's your goal for the bulls. For the bears, goes underneath 5 by this line. Bro, this is one of the things like your parents make a crazy decision and you're old enough to understand that they're bugging out. But that vacation you can't afford sounds like fun. You're like, well, we'll deal with it. We'll party now. We'll deal with it later. Let me.
Crazy timing.
Underneath. All right. So there's your job over the next 2 days, and you only have one, is to close underneath 5, right? Which is at basically 70. And for bears, the TLDR is you want to close above 77.5. It's the money. You know, my question has always been, where's the money going to come from? What them talking about doubling QE did is 2 things. One, it's feeding the debt market, and eventually that money rotates, right? So people like to try to get in front of QE. But 2, it gives the stock market guys, and I don't believe that this means this at all, but I've seen it over and over on Twitter. It gives the stock market guys the idea that the government is going to keep pushing liquidity to keep the AI market from popping. I don't think that that's the intention at all. I think that they're trying to drop the dollar, and they're very successfully dropping the dollar. But because of that, people have that renewed sort of idea that maybe ES can go for another year without falling. You know, maybe it can go for another 2 years without falling. So this is really sketchy times, y'all. Sketchy, 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 sketchy. Let me go to the 1 hour. All right, so basically this is what we're looking at. Let's take a look at some RSIs. Right, our uptrend here, and we're getting, first let's look at volume. Because our main problem through this whole thing has been a real lack of volume. On the hourly, you can see we had that nice increase. What worries me is that the second half of this push is volume divergent. Right? The president of the United States has never had a Bitcoin bag as big as our president has. I would say expecting manipulation is probably a good idea, especially since he's fighting so hard against signing that ethics bill. My guy might have a plan, you know? Let's look at our RSIs. So we've been stacking bearish divergences. We broke it on this last move up. and that last move up. Interestingly enough, I'm sure this is complete coincidence, but that divergence was broken by the news of Besant saying that they would routinely run buybacks. So that invalidated those divergences for now, anyways, even though the volume divergence is still there. And if we go to the daily, so we've been watching this on our Have We Bottomed, right? RSI support on the daily or resistance on the daily. Each one of these times where we've hit these tops, right, has been a top. Basically a top of the relief rally, top of the last relief rally, right? So one of the things we were looking at is that price had to pop. Don't, guys, this isn't to make you bullish and this isn't to make you bearish. You should not be either one right now. There's too much shit going on and we're too much in the middle to be either way. I have not seen what I have to see to invalidate lower prices, and I have not seen what I have to see to validate the idea of the bear market being broken. That's what these next 2 weeks are about. You can jump on either side of it if you want, but the reason we have a checklist and the reason we do it this way is that so we're beyond the shadow of a doubt when we decide to go heavy, right? Barely bullish is what I would like to say. Like barely, BEARLY, bullish. So we passed, right? We popped up. This is when we were breaking down. If you notice, every time that we've broken this RSI uptrend, every time we've broken that has been the top of the relief rally, right? I'm going somewhere with this. Just follow me. Uptrend, broke, relief rally over. Right? All 3 times. Well, here we broke that uptrend and started making that move down. Then the news came in. Got us back above the uptrend and broke the downtrend. Right? The reason that this is so hard to judge is because of how news-based this catalyst is. It's not that news-based catalysts can't turn into real sustainable catalysts, but you have to prove that the speculation from the news-based catalyst is going to sustain long enough for the news to actually kick in, right? Remember, the money doesn't start actually flowing until September 9th. So this range that we have here is, if you're a bull, keep FOMO alive, right? That's your only job in this range. You can keep FOMO alive long enough to hold some of these levels until that money actually kicks in. Then it might turn into something. Right? Now let's go to the monthly. Other thing we were watching on the monthly, even though this isn't a long enough chart, but was these levels, right? We talked about when price comes into this. A second. The last time we did the Have We Bottomed Yet, this was the macro signal that had triggered. Let me take this. Right, if anybody remembers when we did that episode, right? We talked about when price leaves this, right? And price comes in, it starts the accumulation. When price leaves, then you tend to get your breakouts. The problem was how slightly we came in here, right? We weren't even in there for 1 day. We closed underneath and immediately came out. So the question that we had during that last one was this valid, right? Was this enough? We look at the moment when it came into that range. We top bottom. Let's go to the daily. So the day that we tapped bottom on that was the end of June, where we had that big drop. I mean, the beginning of June, sorry, where we had that big drop. Right. And then we basically run sideways, and then the news came in to pop us. I don't doubt for 1 second. And I mean, I don't know. This is just my opinion. If anybody feels different, I'd love to hear the argument. But I don't doubt for 1 second that had the Fed not announced that they were doubling QE, we wouldn't have got this candle. Right? We would have continued the move that broke that uptrend, and we would have probably found new lows, or at least held the like 800 or something, right? So cool, it happened, but can it sustain? Because a one-off event isn't going to hold. It needs to sustain itself, and that's what our job is for the next week. Well, for the next 2 days, more importantly than anything. Can you hold these levels? Can you stay above 5 for the next 2 days? What we're sitting in right now is, if you guys know, this is my least favorite topping pattern of all. Right? But that channel is sort of what we're contending with on the 5-minute anyways. Amazing price action. Absolutely great. Right? Huge institutional inflows. Remember we talked about surfing the drift on institutional inflows. Money can't all come in at once. It trickles and then it tends to drift. Well, we're up against the clock. Yeah. From where we are right now, we've got that's not right. It's supposed to be 2 days. Hold on. The weekly, if I'm not mistaken, has 2 days and 19 hours. Let me fix this, y'all. Give me a second. I must have set this on a high time frame or something. Whatever, this is close to it. I can get them. Why is this playing with me? Didn't I just put it on 2 days and 12 hours?
Nah, it was off when you drew it.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to follow along, and I was like, "Wait, this don't look right."
All right, so there we go.
Is your start point on that time frame or amount of time on that yellow, whatever time bar you pulled, correct? Because it looked on the last time frame like it was like 5K.
Yeah, no, I the problem is that I pulled it from I made a mistake and I pulled it from where the forward guidance came in instead of pulling it from the local candle. That's just my bad. Doing stupid shit. Moving too quick. All right, so 2 days and 20 hours to avoid dropping 6%, 6.5%. Coming down underneath the Ichimoku baseline is the important one, right? We talked about this during the last relief rally. Let me pull it up so you can see. Right, so remember when we bounced off of that Ichimoku baseline here, we said that traditionally when you get over that baseline, right, you're at the bottom. And then we had this example of rejecting off of it, right? And that's what we ended up doing, rejecting. But getting above that on the weekly is a macro signal that we can't ignore. Right? I don't care how bullish you are. We're no different than perma bulls if we can't, and right now we're above it. And we've got 2 days to close back underneath it. Now, what makes that possible for me is this daily value area high that we're looking at. I think we might have pushed it up too. Let me push this up. And then let me put it in the middle. So this daily value area high, if we lose this, then you know that logic tells us that we're meant to come down to point of control again. And point of control is at 64. So losing 70 starts by losing 74.6. If we go to smaller time frames, so we can see how we're dealing with it. Right, it's basically losing this coming back in. So we're breaking out of that daily range now. We can break out and hold. Remember, you've only got 2 days. So you can break out and hold, and that's a great sort of sign for the idea of getting over 2. Remember, getting over 2 is what switches your macro structure. Now, I want to be clear. Just because you break your macro structure does not mean the bear market is over. It does not mean that you're saving yourself brand new lows, right? It just means that you're getting the first sign that structure has actually shifted, right? You're putting in higher lows or lower highs. The important one is taking out the macro top, right? But that I left that off the list because in my opinion, as long as we can get above that 50 on the weekly, break into that Gaussian channel lower band, which is right here. Remember, we talked about this too. When you break into that Gaussian channel lower band, historically, it's the beginning of, the start of a bull market. Here, right? But you've got to get in there and you've got to close. And that line is our number 2. And that's why that's my target for if we remain bullish or not. Now, 1 being the macro structure, right? This is the sign that people that wait for super wait for confirmation, this is the sign that they look for. Right? You tend not to break these highs The first time you put in a higher high, you've started your bull market. And look. High. High. Right? Never took it out. Never took it out. Didn't take it out till here. And that's when it started. Right? All the way back. High. It didn't take it out. Didn't take it out. Didn't take it out. Didn't take it out. Finally took it out here. But that's a very, very late signal. That's why I'm not adding it to the things that have to happen in the next 2 days. So remember, my plan originally was when we get into that, let me make this brighter so you can see it. When we get into that drop after the capitulations, this was in the Are We There Yet, right? That you go into that bullish channel, same bullish channel we went into here, right? We try to buy the bottoms as much as possible. And then we look for evidence of breakouts when we get to the top. Well, that's exactly what we're doing now, right? We've only hit the top once, hit the bottom twice. Right? Now we're seeing, is this going to reject and come back down, give us another chance to buy low inside the flag, or is it going to break and go? Making that decision right now. If you've got an answer to that question right now, if you're listening to this and you're like, it's going to go up, you understand that you have no confirmation for that, right? It's okay to have it. It's okay to feel it. And one of the benefits that you guys have as being like personal traders, where you only have to worry about your own sort of bag, is that you get to come to those conclusions early, right? I'm in a position where I have to make sure that everything checks off before I say something reckless like the bull market's over. Because even though everybody here knows that they're on their own game and that you're not supposed to do what anybody else says, I think everybody understands that the second that those words come out of my mouth, things change. So I have to be responsible when it comes to that. And that's why our checklist exists, right? That's why we've had that checklist since November. So we're now again, because we were in the same situation up here, we're now again at a point where we're testing those limits, right? And the chart has to prove it, and it's got 2 days and 20 hours to do it. One last thing. This still bothers me. Where's our volume? This is what the bottom of a bear market ramp up looks like, right? This is what the bottom of a bear market ramp up looks like. This is what we have. Not only hasn't it ramped up, but we're still very much volume divergent here. You know, no matter what this last candle did. So there's still plenty of reason to have a little bit of pause. Does anybody have any questions? I think what I'm going to do, y'all, is I'm going to restart the stream. And then, because there's going to be a lot of questions while I'm gone. It'd probably be easier
one
just to
question,
point
Doc.
them to this, for this video. Yeah, what's going on? Robo?
Could you add the numerical value to those horizontal lines, like their actual digit value?
Yeah, I got you.
Thank Thank you.
Mhm.
In regard to the volume, could the price range that we're leaving from, last time, what was it, 15 or 17, whatever?
No.
Could that play a role in how volume spike compared to us leaving from whatever 60 now? Could that, whatever?
Yeah. So typically what you want to see for a range breakout or a consolidation breakout is as that range is tightening, like we were just doing now, right? As that range is tightening, you want to see volume increasing. Right. So that's how you can tell that like that spring is loading, you know? You tend to see it like those long ways consolidations, right? Trapped here consolidating, prices increasing. Then you have that COVID collapse that grabs liquidity and then goes, right? Same sort of thing here, right? As we were consolidating, volume was slowly coming up. This looks like nothing, but that is a mountain compared to what we have right now. So the money has to come in sustainably, which means that volume needs to pick up.
Yeah, I just was looking at the not last bear market, the one before. We had a higher volume spike then, and again, I was somehow correlating possibly that it was because the bottom of the bear market was whatever the price was at that one, and then the next one was whatever 20 times more or whatever the difference was. But it was a lower spike in volume compared to the previous cycle. And again, I was just
No, it's a good,
wondering.
this is a good insight. Yeah, it's very possible.
And I thought we're expecting to fall out of the Gaussian channel or the baseline, right?
Reject off of it. Yeah.
That's a 2 week or 1 week. I thought it was a 2 week.
Nah, it's for the Gaussian. You're looking at your 1 week. Dun, 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 dun. For your Gaussian, you're looking at your 1 week coming into that range on your 1 week. The same sort of deal that we do here. On the 2 week, you're still basically underneath your baseline. And this is where we consolidated and dropped out. But yeah, not rejecting off of that. Right? That rejection would have been, you see, we had trouble getting above. And then catalyst time is just red because of the Gaussian channel. It colors the candles red once you're underneath the baseline. Now, the one really big anomaly worth mentioning, if this does play out and hold, is that this will be the first time that Bitcoin finds a bottom without losing the Ichimoku's momentum on the 2 week, right? Without popping out of that cloud. Literally the first time ever in any of the bull markets.
That's
So
what
that's
I had in
something,
mind.
yeah, that's definitely something worth noticing. Can I make this smaller? Oh, I can. Thank God. Why is that so overly aggressive for no reason?
Yeah, that shit was crazy.
like, what are we, like 70 or something? I mean, no offense to 70-year-olds, but look, my mom's PC is like on max font. The funniest shit. It looks like cartoonish, you know? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The reason I'm spending so much time on it is because you're gonna hear a lot of shit over the next couple of days, man. And the more you have your head wrapped around the invalidations and what these levels actually mean, the more you can sort of ignore all the noise that you're about to definitely hear within the next 48 hours. So those are levels.
Is that weekly close Sunday 12 a.m.?
Yeah, on candle close, on daily close. Oh no, it's still weekly, so it's 12. So look at this. One thing I can tell you that this has done for me personally, even if this fails and falls apart, is that it's shaved off some of the possibilities of the lower numbers. Even though those 38 to 44 was already suspect because of how long it was taking. But right now my main targets really are the 230 SMMA on the weekly, which is our black swan line that always gets hit. Right, this one right here. Hold on. Right. And the coin value days destroyed. Right. This one's important. This one's another one that I don't like to easily ignore without evidence. Coin value days destroyed, right? It counts how many times how long coins have been sitting in a wallet, right? Whenever it gets down to that coin value days destroyed to the actual average, you tend to get a pop, right? You have a leading line and you have the actual line. In the past 4 bear markets, prices come down and basically been trapped between the CVDDs. Yeah. 2022, 2018. Right. So if this fails, and I still think that there's a very good chance that it will, until we break macro structure on bearish, yo. Right. I'm just not gonna be here, so I've got to give you every option. But if this breaks bearish, then I think we end up in between these two. Right. This is where I'll be filling up. If it doesn't, another important fact. If this thing happens to pass over all of our lines and validate the macro structure and all that, that does not mean that I'm yeeting in at 77. Right? This is still a chart. The chart still needs to cool and balances still need to be taken. All it means is if those get invalidated when we do retrace, I'm not going to fall in love with the idea of these lower numbers playing out. If they do, great, right? But I will be defensively DCing into the retracements if we invalidate the macro structure, which has always been my argument from the beginning of the bull market. Right? Wait for the evidence. The only issue is us not getting that Ichimoku break on the 2-week, which is what gets you the best entrances, right? That's what gets you your closest entrance to the bottom. Not getting that and having that front run by news would be annoying as shit to everybody, I'm sure. But it is what it is, right? We play the chart that we see, not the one that we want. And you're still going to be way better off than everybody else who's not even looking at crypto right now and won't come back until prices at like 100K or some shit. Hold on, let me.
You want to restart the stream so you can get any more of this?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to restart the
Okay.
stream. I'm going to title it. And then we'll be right back. So give me like 5 minutes. Not even. Give me a minute. I can retitle it after I start the stream up. Like, comment, subscribe, do a little TikTok dance, whatever you got to do, and then hit refresh. We'll be right back.